Okay, sorry about that. So again, so we have to prove if AB, line segment AB, was parallel to line segment CD. So we have that point A is located at -1, 5 and point B at 4, 7. So how do we find the slope? Okay, slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to define this as x1 y1 and x2 y2, excuse me. So that means m equals 7 minus 5 over 4 minus -1. So m equals 7 minus 5, that's 2. Negative times negative is positive. 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so the slope for AB is 2/5. Now let's find the slope of CD. C is located at 4, 3 and D is located at -1, 1. Again, we use the same formula. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals 1 minus 3 over -1 minus 4. M equals 1 minus 3, that's -2, over -1 minus 4, that's -5. Negative divided by negative, that's positive, 2/5. Now, notice that the slope for AB is equal to the slope of CD. So we can say that AB is parallel to CD. Okay? And remember, by definition, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel lines. So in this case, AB is parallel to CD, AD is parallel to BC. So we have two pairs of parallel lines. Okay? Here we define it, AB. So AB is parallel to BC, and AD is parallel to BC, and here AB is parallel to CD. So we can define it. Our solution will be, since AD is parallel to BC and AB is parallel to CD, then ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay, so we just proved that ABCD was a parallelogram. So now, perpendicular lines. By definition, perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form right angles. Two non-vertical lines are perpendicular if and only if the product of their slopes is equal to -1. Now, vertical lines are perpendicular to horizontal lines. So here we have an example. Let's suppose that we have two equations, right? Two linear equations. Y equals m1x plus b and y equals m2x plus b. If m1 times m2 is equal to -1, then y equals m1x plus b is perpendicular. Notice that the symbol for perpendicular, it's an inverse capital T. Is perpendicular to y equals m2x plus b. Okay, so those are the definitions for slopes. For perpendicular lines. Now, if we look at example 3, it says identify which lines are perpendicular. And we have four linear equations: x equals -2, y equals 1, y equals -4x, and y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x plus 1. Okay, notice, again, let's go back to the definition. If m1 times m2 equals -1, okay, when do we get that m1 equals m2? This will be equal, m1 times m2, equals -1. This will happen only if their slopes are opposite and reciprocal to each other, okay? Now, by definition, we said that vertical lines are perpendicular to horizontal lines. So if you notice, x equals -2 equals -2, it's a vertical line. The second equation, y equals 1, it's a horizontal line. Since vertical lines are perpendicular to horizontal lines, then we can state that x equals -2 is perpendicular to y equals 1, okay, by definition. So we found out that these two were perpendicular. Now let's see if y equals -4x is perpendicular to y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x plus 1. Okay? So notice, y equals -4x. In this case, m equals -4. Right? Now, in the second equation, we have it in point-slope form. Y plus 2, we have it y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x plus 1. So let's write it in a slope-intercept form. We do a distributive property. Y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x, 1/4 x. 1/4 plus 1 plus 1/4. Pass plus 2 to the other side, and we get y equals 1/4 x plus 1/4 minus 2. Okay, so let's subtract. Let's simplify that. I'll do it over here. 1/4 minus 2 over 1. We find least common denominator of 4 and 1 is 4. 4 divided by 4 times 1 is 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4 times 2 is 8. 1 minus 8 is -7. So we get y equals 1/4 x minus 7/4. Okay? Okay. So the slope for this line equals 1/4. So we have slope equals -4 and slope equals 1/4. So let's see what happens when we multiply m1 times m2. That means -4 times 1/4. -4 times 1, -4. Divided by 4, -1. So notice m1 times m2 was equal to -1. So here we can state that y minus 4, y equals, -4x is perpendicular to y plus 2 equals 1/4 times x plus 1. Okay? Why? Again, because the product of their slopes was equal to -1. Now, example 5, the last example. It says, write an equation in a slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 4, 5 and is parallel to the line described by y equals 5x plus 10. So they want us to write an equation in a slope-intercept form, y equal mx plus b. Okay? They want us to write it in that form. What information do we have for this line? Okay, we know that it passes through it passes through 0.45 and it's parallel to the line described by y equals 5x plus 10. Okay, what do we know about parallel lines? We know that parallel lines, their slopes are equal. So if this, what will be the slope of this line? M equals 5. So that means this is M2. So that means that M1 equals 5. Right? Now we have a point and a slope. So we can use the point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? This was from the previous lesson. So x1, y1. Now let's substitute. Y minus 5 equals m 5 times x minus x1, 4. Now we write this in a slope-intercept form by first doing distributive property here. So we get y minus 5 equals 5 times x, 5x. 5 times -4, -20. Now we lift y by itself, past -5 to the other side of the equation. Now we get y equals 5x minus 20 plus 5. Y equals 5x, -20 plus 5, that's -15. So this will be the equation in a slope-intercept form of the line that passes through 4, 5, and it's parallel to the line described by 5x, y equals 5x plus 10. Notice 5x, y equals 5x plus 10, slope equals 5, and the equation of the line, y equals 5x minus 15, m equals 5. So that means that our answer is correct because we have two lines with same slope and they're parallel. Now, part B says, write an equation in a slope-intercept form for the line that passes through 3, 2, and is perpendicular to the line described by y equals 3x minus 1. So again, they want us to write this equation in the form y equals mx plus b. What do we know about this line? That it passes through 3, 2, and it's perpendicular to y equals 3x minus 1. Okay, so this slope equals 3. What do we know about perpendicular lines? The product of their slopes equals -1. When does that happen? When their slopes are opposite and reciprocal. So that means, what is the opposite of 3? The opposite of 3 is -3. And the reciprocal of -3, if we write -3 as a fraction, is -3/1. The reciprocal will be -1/3. So m1 equals -1/3. Now we have the slope and the 0.32, so we can use the point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. x1, y1. We substitute. Y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 3. We do distributive property. Y minus 2 equals negative 1/3 times x, negative 1/3 x. Negative 1 times negative 3, that's positive 3, divided by 3, that's positive 1. Now we pass minus 2 to the other side, so now we get y equals negative 1/3 x plus 1 plus 2, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. And that will be the equation of the line in slope-intercept form that passes through point 3, 2 and is perpendicular to the line described by y equals 3x minus 4. Okay? Okay, guys. So your assignment, this will be homework number 3. Page 353, problems 2 through 46 even. Okay? Okay, guys. See you.